Hi, everyone, and welcome to SporTView. I'm Jay Wyman. I'm here with my co-host, Tom Emmons.
Hey, Jay.
Tom, how you doing?
Good.
And today we got a great show for you. We're bringing back Holliston grad Max Esposito to talk about some of the work that he's done.
Yeah. Max, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys.
Welcome back to Holliston.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Well, we wanted to have you on SporTView because you did two great films having to do with the Holliston Panther football team around their Super Bowl championships in 2010 and 2014, and how, some of the darkest moments of Holliston football had been turned into really celebratory types of things. So before we get to the football films, which we really want to get to, we want to find out a little bit more about you and tell us about growing up in Holliston and how that launched you into filmmaking.
Yeah, so I graduated in 2006 from Holliston. I spent the better part of those years on the track and field team. And my dad and both my parents would always come to the meets, and my dad would show up with a little handy cam. And I remember at some point asking him if I could start bringing that camera down to the track itself. And so I started interviewing people and teammates and asking them how they did before the race, or asking them if they were excited for the race. And it started to become like these funny little videos. And it turned into these 30-minute, which were probably too long at the time, videos that they'd show at the banquet. And they were kind of like season recaps. And everyone, well, at least the kids liked them. I think I felt bad for the parents having to sit through that. But I started to just kind of stay up late and learn how to edit video and learned how to shoot that way and kind of doing it on my own. And then I took Mr. Hill's communications class, and that got me hooked. And I actually did a show called Sports Report and kind of went and would interview different kids on different teams and go outside and have them I remember there's a kid that was the goalie of the lacrosse team, and I put on the pads and had them film me, and I tried to be a goalie, and I was like, man, that's hard. How do you do it? And, it was fun stuff like that. And then it came time to apply to college, and I was like, I'd love to keep doing this. And ended up at BU studying photojournalism, and then used that as kind of a launch pad to keep doing the documentary visual storytelling.
You've done some incredible stuff. We've seen a lot of the stuff that you've done. One of the things that, of course, we'll get into the football part of it, but the piece you did on Bobby Blair was just absolutely unbelievable. It was a great piece, and I like the way that you do things, because you have the voice going in the background, and you see different things that the person is doing at the same time. And you did that a lot with the football thing too. Is that a kind of a thing that you learned in film class there at BU? Or?
Yeah, I think stylistically, I think it's more interesting oftentimes to see what people are doing than to see them actually talking. And I think it's especially with a sport like football, right? There's so much going on visually that you want to show that as much as you can. And I think it's more important to showcase that stuff than to see someone's head, sitting stationary in front of something and talking.
Yeah.
You've had the opportunity to travel the world pretty much.
Yeah.
Appreciate you just back from Japan.
Yeah, a little jet lag. Yeah, not as bad as this guy sleeping in.
Sleep.
Where are you back from?
Well, I'm back from sleeping. So.
Oh, okay. It's kind of the same thing. But you've had a lot of experience. I mean, seeing all parts of the world and stories. I liked, you brought up the Bobby Blair video. I liked the Pete's Lunch video, where you were just driving through town and noticed him, out there on his perch outside the Pete's Lunch, and found out, about his story of purchasing that business way back in the 50s,
Yeah, Holliston's kind of a neat little canvas for all these gems of people and stories. So it's fun to see that in town and come back from Boston and try and find those little stories and tell them.
So some stories you find and some stories come to you.
Yeah.
And right now you're doing a mix of your own projects and commercial work as well?
Yep. So the commercial work pays the bills, but that's still, as much as it can be, sort of documentary storytelling. So you either are telling the story of a brand or a product and talking to people who use that product or are involved with that brand and getting their experience with it. And then, that business funds the time to do the documentary work.
Yeah, I saw one of them was Panama, right? Was the backdrop? Now, how long do you go to Panama to film a TV commercial?
Yeah, Panama was, I think, 3 or 4 days, maybe 4 days total, 2 days travel, 2 days shooting, and it was for a little video for Reebok, and so we filmed some CrossFit athletes down there and got to kind of cruise around the Panama Canal and show people, or the more remote part of the Panama Canal, and show people kayaking as a sport and do some other really neat things. So.
Did you see the new canal being built?
I heard about it. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Are they expanding it?
It's going to be so big that the boats that are going to be able to come through there, the big boats with the when they have the tractor trailers on the back of them, they'll be able to come through there. They're talking about making maybe Savannah will be a big port once that happens. So
interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on down there. Yep.
So how did this first project, sort of get started, get off? We're going to see it, the last finest hour.
Yeah.
We're going to see that one in a second chance just in a moment. But how did that project start to percolate up?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important to say that sports in general, I mean, that's part of the reason you guys are involved in this. Like, there's so much emotion there, and it's so interesting because there's the highs and the lows, and it's so unpredictable, and you don't know what's going to happen. And so I think when I saw that the Holliston football team was doing well, given kind of the history of what had happened the last couple years, that I saw a really interesting story there. And Coach Kiley and that whole coaching staff was awesome in that they let me into that world. They let me into the locker room, into the speeches, onto the field, and that access, I think, really helped get to the heart of those emotions that kind of weave themselves into those moments. And so it was something that I think I found interesting from the outside, and then when I asked if I could kind of be on the inside of that world and that access was granted, it kind of, the story started telling itself.
Well, the team had been carrying the banner of 73-7 for Joey Laracy and Timmy O'Connell since the 2008 season.
Right.
Had gone to the Super Bowl in 2009 and had lost, but now the 2010 they weren't going to the Super Bowl yet. When you met them, they were just doing well. Yeah, like you said, during the season.
I caught them their last playoff game. Which
was it
Rockland, right?
Yes, yeah.
So we didn't know what was going to happen, but there was that excitement. Like, here they are again, pretty close. Like, is this going to be the year? And I think that anticipation and that kind of anxiety that was there made for a really, really harrowing story.
And so you just, as a filmmaker, what was your plan? What was your plan going in? Coach Kiley says, "Sure, bring your camera down." And
so that was 2010. So I was fresh out of college without too much of a sense of how to put together like a longer form documentary. So I think my attitude was just film it all and see what I can put together and see what happens. And then come 2014, I wanted to tell more of an intimate story, getting voices of the coaches and the players. And I thought that was kind of the difference between the two. The first go around was, I'm just going to film it all and see what happens. The second time was, let's build more of an arc around it.
I mean, I have a little bit of appreciation for what you did as far as the editing and everything, because Lisa has helped me out doing some editing for a show we just did for this year for the ball club, and of course I have nowhere near the knowledge you have. But how long did it take you to film? I mean, how many hours of film did it take to get it down into between the two films? It was about 15 minutes.
Yeah, the first two films. I'm trying to remember. There were 2 games in there, obviously. The moments before the games, I would say is probably 8 to 10 hours of footage.
So it does take a lot. Like when people see this, what you're going to see is something that really is taking a lot of time with a lot of editing. And as I said, I love the way you do this. This is really interesting. The way the style that you said you have doing this. It's really, really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we take a look at them now?
Sure.
And everybody sit back and enjoy The Last Finest Hour and then A Second Chance, Part 2.
We get a playoff game on our home turf. There's a reason for this. There is a reason for this. Think of the different things that we have done on this field. 2 years ago, we had candlelight vigils on our field. When we came together and we knew that we were going to be stronger than any other brotherhood has ever been from that time on. It's going to be a war. It's going to be an absolute war. Boys, we're about to have our finest hour, finest last hour on this field. It's going to be a war! You have to be ready for that. You have to be ready for that. In a war, you must execute. You must execute. It's about precision. There's nobody else I'd rather in my foxhole than this group here. Tonight is a game of sacrifice. You're gonna have to sacrifice your body. Play in, play out. Out of that foxhole, I bet my life that I would get to see my family again, that I would live. Because you're winners! You know how to win, and you know how to fight! We've lost a few here and there, but we have fought! And we are going to fight tonight till the finish. We're going to take it to these guys, one play at a time, and smack them in the mouth! And leave absolutely nothing left to be said from anybody else out there that we are the most complete team in this state. In this state. Defense, offense. You want to try to jam it down his throat? Try to jam it down our throat? Try it. We're going to smack you in the mouth. 40 minutes tonight. 40 minutes. You bring it. This is your last time on this field, guaranteed. No more bonus games. 40 minutes to Gillette. Take care of business. Let's go.
Please welcome the Tri-Valley champion, Holliston Panthers. Each team will remain champions in the hearts and the minds of their proud community.
playoff game on our home turf. There's a reason for this. There is a reason for this. There's a reason why we have a bonus game out here. There is a reason why we have this bonus game out here. To show the team in white what Holliston Brotherhood is all about. What it's all about. What it's all about. Enjoy it. In about a minute now. Enjoy it for about 5 to 6 minutes.
Evan Curry corrals at the 23-yard line after Bob was at the 25, puts his head down. They come out of the shotgun. Sean Mayo with Curry to his right, out of the gun. Direct snap. It off. Curry coming near side left. He's got some running room at the 30. That's the 35-yard line. Mayo now catches down. Curry comes back at the 40. Curry's got good running yardage. He's got running 31. Mayo's got running room. He's at the 35. He's got the first down. Holliston offense averaging over nearly 40 points per game, 39.9 points per game. They're led by senior quarterback Sean Mayo. Jeff, the offensive line, centered by Jake Battersby. Down row Genie, Zach Ambry, the tackles, the guards, Freeburg, Hathaway, and Easton Rayner. Flush out of the pocket. Mayo now on the run. Mayo's got running room. Mayo cuts back. He's got the first down and more. Mayo at the 30. Picks another tackle down to the 48-yard line. A 17-yard run by Stephon Mayo. After throw, Judy over the middle, wide open. Running towards the end zone. It's Joe Green and he's in. Touchdown, Cardinals. A 25-yard touchdown pass. Jack Mooney to Joe Green, and we've got a ball game.
Probably the Super Bowl 38-15. And I remembered what a terrific player Sean Mayo was then, so he was able to come back. And it seems at this point in time, he and the rest of his teammates are in a great situation to grab the Division III Super Bowl championship. Shotgun goes up top, looks at Klein, it's going to be intercepted by Holliston. Intercepted by Holliston back at their own 43-yard line. Ricky Donovan not on the catch, but actually Brody Saracello in on the catch for Holliston, and on the interception again, Brody Saracello.
The Panthers set the goal against the activist boys a season ago after losing on this very field, and they win it here today. The Panthers are Super Bowl champions.
That was an amazing job you did there, and it did capture a lot of the, not just the emotion of what goes on behind the scene in the scenes in the football game, but the emotion with the families and the coaches, and you know, it shows something about the Holliston football team that's really different. And I don't want to be sappy and say it's a made-for-movie type of a thing, but the way everything turned out that 1 week in August or September of 2008, when both Joey and Timmy passed away, and how that all the focus of that helped drive this team, and you could see, you know, the guys putting the JL for Joey Larissy on the tape on their hands and everything. It just and as you said, you know, sports is about life. Sports is a mini life, isn't it? It really is. It's like life in a box. There's a beginning, there's an end, and the way you told that story, Max, I'm telling you, it was unbelievable.
Thank you.
We were talking a little before the show about, I was asking, you know, how do you put it together? It's like a puzzle, but you don't have the box cover. You got all these pieces laying around, and now you got to, you know, where do you find, you know, your inspiration from stories? How do you go through that process and pull those out?
I think the first two, if you look at it as kind of almost 3 different videos, a trilogy, if you will.
Yeah.
The first 2, without as much interviews, I found a little easier to tell because it was a chronological story, and it was picking the best visuals that told the story. So I come from a photojournalism background, so we were really like drilled into what is the best frame that tells the most story possible, and has a little bit of emotion in it too, but also contains the most information for that moment. And so I think when you're going through all that footage, you're kind of looking for, what little clip here and there, when you put them together, are going to either really hit on the emotion or going to tell the bigger picture, and then you start trying to put those together in a way that makes sense. I think, when we look at the Raising 7, that one was trickier because there's a lot of sound bites that you have to weave together and figure out what's the order of the sound bites that's going to make sense and make this thing something that you're going to be hooked on as a viewer.
Another important part, once you get the pieces together, is the music that you select.
Right.
To try to have that, tell your story.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of tricky because of music rights and all that. How do you go about that process?
Yeah. So on Raising 7, and I know I keep going back to that one, which you haven't seen, but that one I worked with a music company that's based out of Portland, Oregon, and we worked together on a deal to license a bunch of music, and they were awesome, and I feel like the music in that really worked.
The college grad in 2010, what did he do?
The college grad in 2010 was like, there's all this music on my iTunes, like, which one am I going to pick? Which, in retrospect, not the best way to do it, but, I just wanted to make something. And I found a story, and I wanted to tell that story, and then it was like it needed a little something, a little basil on the pasta to add another level to it, and so that was the music. And I think at the time I just picked, what I thought would work. So you're right. The college grad was like, what can we use?
Yeah.
The other thing that's amazing is Coach Kylan, because we're big fans of Coach and his whole staff. And it's really amazing what they all went through, and the kids. Of course, when we lost Joey, Joey was a ball player, so all the kids knew him. Right. Timmy's a little bit more interesting story in the sense that this year when they won it, he would have actually been a sophomore this year, I believe. So the sophomores on the team,
they knew
kind of knew him. So both these teams had really personal attachments to both of these kids.
Yeah.
And you really brought that out too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just remember watching it the first time, just incredible chills and the whole brotherhood theme that was there. And I mean, both of us having played football and been in the huddle, it brings you back so much, maybe more so than other people that haven't played football. But if you've been in a sports atmosphere like that, you get that kind of intensity.
Back,
you got it, and it's really, that's a great point, Tom, because one of the things that I had it was a long time ago, believe me, when I played football. But I remember going back into the practices with the coaches in the practice. I'm going, wow, they still practice that way. That's what we did. That's what we did too. That's what it was like. You were able to bring that into it too. So people who've never seen that, as you said, Tom, you get to experience this is what really happens. There wasn't a show that they were putting on for you. That's the way they really do it.
Right.
Yeah. So after your first project, I mean, obviously you must have gotten a lot of feedback from Panther Nation about how, I don't know, just heartwarming. It really took a story and brought it all together, and it was just something that people could react to. And were you surprised at the amount of reaction that you got from the video?
Yeah, it was cool to go back to my hometown that I hadn't really spent too much time in for the last 4 years being at college, and make something and have people really get excited about it and say such great things about it, and to have Coach Kylie and his staff and the players say such great things about it, it makes you feel good, to make something that really matters and that is kind of a record for posterity, if you will, of a great moment in Holliston history. So I was surprised at the reaction, and it was a good feeling, and it was encouraging to be like, if I can make people feel like that through something that I do, then I should keep doing that. So it helped.
Well, you definitely should keep doing this, 'cause you're absolutely great at it.
Thank you.
And then rolling forward to 2014, well, the gap in time, I mean, you stayed in touch with the team. You looking for another opportunity. Did you really understand about the next step in the story, because it was something that the team sort of kept kind of close to their chest, sort of not wanting to show all their cards publicly, each season. So
yeah, there was. I think there was always in my mind something like a bigger project to work on, and having built a relationship with Coach Kiley through playing for him and then, doing the first 2 videos, I saw it still as an opportunity to do more. And the story wasn't over yet. They still had their eyes set on another championship. And I can remember early on in 2014 thinking that it would be cool to do a photo essay that followed the team through the whole season. So maybe not as much work as a season-long documentary, but still like a chronicle.
Yeah.
And other work things came up, and then I realized it was, the last playoff game before the Super Bowl, and I wasn't able to make that one. And then it came time for the Super Bowl, and I was like, okay, it's now or never to tell this story again. And it seems like they got a good shot this year. And so I spent 3 days filming the practices and got really, immersed with the team, and then obviously the game. But it was always, I guess, on my mind to do something if they came close to that next step, kind of closing the circle on that.
You had some great interviews with some of the top players on the team, and as well as the coaches. And like you said, you got that next layer in there where you got the storytellers not to just watch the story and the details, but really hear right from their mouth, all before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
All those were before the Super Bowl was played. Right?
Yeah. So a big thing with documentaries is trust, and it's gaining that trust so people open up to you. And I remember sending an email to Coach Kiley that week being like, hey, Coach, I want to make an ESPN 30 for 30 style video. I want it to be different than the last 2. I want to interview players and coaches before the game, kind of make it a lot more in-depth and really get into what's going on up here, not just what you're seeing visually. And so those interviews that you saw all happened before that Saturday. And if I remember correctly, the interviews with the coaches actually happened that night. And so I'm super grateful that they spent the time to stay in the weight room and just sit and answer my questions before, one of the biggest days of their coaching careers. But you can hear it in their voices. There's this tension of not knowing what's going to happen and all this preparation, months and months of preparation. And there's confidence, but there's also the uncertainty because it's an unwritten story at that point. And there's also the trust. And some of the coaches really opened up to me, and I couldn't be more grateful because it really brings you into the story.
Yeah, well, let's
take a look at it. And when we do, I think people kind of look at the emotions that it does bring out, because there are quite a few things. They go, it runs the gamut, doesn't it? It really does. So without any further ado, let's take a look at the film.
Raising 7.
Why is there 8? Wait for it. You have to reset it. Reset. Come on! Are you? What is this?
By far the best middle linebacker that we've seen.
Except play side guard, you're the only difference. With our age, get them up through safety.
I'm proud of our kids that we've put ourselves in another position to reach the highest of high, you know?
Hey, great energy so far, right? How can it be? This is your last hurrah in full pads. Let's get perfect today. Let's get perfect.
Here we are in the Super Bowl, and we're facing our third undefeated team in a row. And football's unique in that it's a physical, it's a war every single week. And we're feeling it right now, you know? We're banged up a little bit, but I like our guys' chances against anybody because of what they bring and the attitude they bring.
And as the season went rolling on and these guys started to build confidence and realize what a team that they were, it seemed like nothing was going to shake that confidence.
I think that all the positivity and the energy just comes from how bad we want it. We know the circumstances and everyone's willing to rise to the occasion.
You can't win for yourself, you gotta win for your teammates, and that's really what a brotherhood is, doing for the guy next to you.
It's just as a whole, we have worked so hard for this. So I'm so proud to be a Panther. I'm so proud to be a captain of this program. It's just nothing like it.
The brotherhood mentality with this team is unreal.
You know, these kids, they love each other, and they're not afraid to say it. They'll say it.
I've known these kids since I was in second grade. I've been playing football with them. I've been playing other sports with them. They're all my best friends, and I am so fortunate and lucky to have kids like that to be a part of my life.
Seeing those kids come together, and that's what keeps you going.
They take care of each other. They're like a family. They're like brothers.
This program has seen the highest of highs and the absolute lowest of lows. In 2007, one of my second grade students, Timmy O'Connell, was diagnosed with leukemia. In an effort to lift his spirits, we made him an honorary captain. I invited him to practice, gave him a game jersey, number 7, that was his birthday. You know, smiling from ear to ear. He was with all the varsity kids as a second grader with his game jersey on. We gave him a hat. And he eventually, he succumbed to the disease in 2008, about five days after we had lost our one of our offensive and defensive linemen.
It was the start of the 2008 football season in Holliston when junior linebacker Joey Laracy died during a scrimmage from an undetected heart condition. Days later, the team's honorary captain, 9-year-old Timmy O'Connell, lost his battle with leukemia.
Having a player pass away right on the field, in your arms, and then Timmy passing away 5 days later. Going through that, what we went through in 2008 was a perfect example of how much you need each other. After the 2008 season ended, off season, we said, you know what, let's get Joey Laracy and Timmy O'Connell's numbers up at the hall at Patriot Place.
1:40 to go left in this game in Holliston. And their 8th Super Bowl.
Today, the Panthers are Super Bowl champions.
Will grab their 3rd Super Bowl championship in school history.
First Super Bowl championship since 1985, 21-7.
21-7, Holliston wins the Super Bowl championship.
2010, one of my greatest moments to be able to hoist that 73 at Patriots Place. And we talked about it that day, that we are not done until we raise Timmy's jersey.
Raise 7 on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Raise 7. He's on the turnaround, he breaks. He's got one guy to break. He's away. Turns the corner, reaches inside. He's got a touchdown. Touchdown, Panthers! 6 seconds to go, and the Panthers take the lead. What a game-saving tackle. Follows his blockers. Touchdown. Nice catch by number 43. Intercepted by number 53. He's just got green in front of him. Todd Kiley, 12 years with the Panthers. A well-deserved victory tonight. His 100th of his high school coaching career. They know it means that the Panthers, with a win here, are headed to Gillette Stadium on Saturday, December 6th. For the second time in 4 years.
We talk about doing it for our past brothers. Joey and Timmy, they're part of this program and they drive us, and I think they brought us closer together, and we want to keep them alive. You know, that's what we've dedicated this season to, is raising 7.
What they did, what they gave to the program, you know, we want to give it back, and we just want to win everything we can for those guys.
And I say this, I speak from the entire staff. We love you guys. Love this team, the way you approach everything. Okay? From taking the Joe's way and the Tim's time, you guys never even met Joey before. All right, most of you never met Timmy before. I know our sophomores, you obviously were classmates with him for a while. But the way you approach things, those two are your boys too. And that means a lot to us. Having been there and done that and gone through that whole period of time in 2008, for a team that really has no connection with that but is keeping that alive because that's who we are, that's what it's all about.
I think the journey's taught these guys that nothing comes easy, and nothing has come easy to these guys. But if it's really worth it, then it's worth fighting for. There's a lot that goes into winning and losing a ball game, and again, some of that you can control and some of it you can't. And my hope is that 10, 15, 20 years down the road, that these guys are able to sit there and say, I gave all of me. I couldn't have given another ounce. I did everything that I could. And that's where the pride comes in. Sometimes you're gonna win, sometimes you're gonna lose. It's a game. But if you gave everything of yourself, that's the journey, and that's the important part. And hopefully that's enough. That's enough to finish our final goal.
Listen, if I turn on that film and see us coming off the ball, and you're playing physical football, and you're assignment sound, you're doing everything you should be doing, and at the end of the day, if that's not enough, I'm gonna be just fine with that, and I'm gonna sleep like a baby, because we gave everything we had. You guys need to know that. Whatever you do to us defensively, we have it.
You just want to play for the guy next to you and win for the guy next to you. And you know, when that clock hits 0, to be able to say with all your heart that you gave everything you had.
If he could battle his treatments for leukemia, with chemicals going all through his body, the way he did, with a smile and with the fight that he displayed through his battle, we can sure as heck do that in the game of football. When you get to spend Saturday afternoon at Gillette Stadium playing for a state championship and the rest of the town cheering for the program that you're part of, what gets better than that? Seeing all that hard work come to fruition, this is why I do it. This is why I do it.
Today, the Panthers face the Wacona Warriors in the Massachusetts Division IV State Finals.
Holliston in red, Wacona in white, and the opening kick will go out of the back of the end zone.
Holliston Panthers at 11-1 going against the Wacona Warriors. They're undefeated on the season. On paper, these teams look like they might be pretty evenly matched. Both have
Clayton knocked away by Elkinson.
And Holliston swarming to the football. Remember, Athey's dealing with an ankle injury, and it looks like it may be aggravated on that tackle.
Panthers are going to go to war as they bring Barrett out. Jack Barrett, number 1. Elkinson. Lot of room, one blocker in front of him. McIsaac puts him away. Count that one as a touchdown for the Holliston Panthers.
Great response by Holliston. Their best player, their quarterback, goes to the bench, but it's up for other players to pick up the slack, Gresh. And good yardage here.
Elkinson off the left side. He's got tons of room. He blows away from number one. He is
They'll go
gone.
with the pitch, trying to get it wide, cutting it back inside. And the two-point conversion is good.
And right now, Holliston is clearly setting the pace, the physicality, the tempo of this football game.
And they'll go for two again and tack on two more as Palomo gets into the end zone. 22-0 Holliston.
Championship teams don't let up one bit. Prove to us, prove to everybody that we are a championship team. Hey, you got 20 minutes. You got 20 minutes. You sell out every play. And you got yourself a state championship. State championship. But it's one play at a time. Let's go get a ring. Hey, let's go.
Let's go, boys. We do this George way, and we race number 7.
They go to number 3. Bounces off the line. What a block. He's got set.
There's McIsaac. He ends up getting a
Number
piece
3 is Color Me Gone. Joe Palomo lowers the boom.
Touchdown on the very next play.
With just 10 seconds gone here in the second half, the Panthers are on the board.
And they will go for it on 4th down and long. And Holliston pins back the ears. They come after Clayton. And Wacona will turn it over on down. Holliston's on top. 36-0 as we begin play here in the fourth quarter.
Takes it off the right side. One guy to beat number 1. Not even touched today. His 5th touchdown of the game. Zach Elkinson setting Gillette Stadium on fire. Holliston fans are counting it down as the ball's lofted towards the end zone. Knocked away by Buchanan, and that's the ball game. The Holliston Panthers win 43-0, and they are your 2014 Division IV State of Massachusetts champions. This team held together and showed heart and showed athleticism and showed what it means to be a team and stick together.
I kind of think that if they were to tell the story, they'll say we won this great game, but there was a bigger picture. Like, it wasn't just football. It was a deeper sense of why they were out there. It made me feel Tim's presence, certainly, but it definitely made me feel like he certainly was a part of the team. He was still a big part of the team, and that they were finally honoring him the way they truly wanted to. So it really was spectacular.
Somewhere down the road, things are going to get really hard. And there's always going to be somebody that you can talk to, somebody that you can call, somebody that you can lean on. That's what life's about. That's what brotherhood's all about. They have each other now, and hopefully they're able to build off of that, build their own families, strong families, and teach them the values that they're learning here and at their house. And the life lessons are the ones you don't realize until it's all over. And you're sitting back and you're going, wow, you know, I can't believe I never saw that while it was going on.
incredibly, incredibly emotional. And, you know, Tom and I are very fortunate because we get to spend a lot of time, you know, with the team. We're not around the team a lot really, but you know, the games and everything, and we really understand the game side of it. But even for us, I think to see that personal side of it, it's really, really emotional.
Yeah, I was telling you, Max. So the first time I saw it, I was really moved watching it. I'm watching it at my breakfast table in the morning, and you know, just sort of welling up with pride because I know what had happened, and now seeing your film, you know, showing this, and like you said at the beginning, before we showed the film, you know, they don't know what's going to happen, but now they do know what's going to happen, and just seeing that all come together, the way you weave the stories and weaved all the pieces in, and then I did say when I heard my voice and Jay's voice in there, I was like, oh, we're part of the project.
Oh, of course.
You know, it was really an incredible thing where we did feel connected. I think everybody gets connected to a story like that. You feel so happy for the people that are there that have been through so much and get to finish as winners.
Right.
I think the other thing too is when you see the parents, you know, and of course Charlene we saw in the first film, and Joanne O'Connell the second film, and you know, my first thing is, yeah, it happened a while ago, but how brave they must be to kind of relive it. And then I think, well, maybe this is something that, you know, as you said earlier, it goes down to posterity, and it really is something that it's a tribute to the boys, isn't it? Really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, 2 points there. I think, I talked about trust earlier, and for the O'Connells to open up and let me into their home and let me interview and talk to them, that's huge, because no matter what the length of time that something like that happens, it's still there. And so I'm very grateful for that. And to your point about it being a tribute, I think as a filmmaker, like your hope and your goal is that you make something that justifies as best to your abilities as you can an event or a person or something that happened. So that was kind of the goal there, is let's make something that does justice to 2008, 2010, and 2014, and I hope that it did.
Yeah, clearly it did. Interesting, you never know what you're going to find until you get in there. Right. This is probably another situation, didn't know if the team's going to win or lose. You don't know. Right. You don't know what people are going to bring out of themselves in your interviews and stuff. But the way you brought it together, and I loved Coach Perry at the end talking about the life lessons. Yeah. They've got a family. These guys love each other, and that someday they will build their own strong family. And just stuff like that.
You can't write that.
You can't write that.
Especially for Coach Perry, because we have a tough time interviewing Coach Perry.
Oh, God.
He'll never talk to us.
We have him one time on film.
He's a great coach, and he's been there for years.
No, I was... when he said that, I remember like the filmmaker in me was like, that's it. That's the story. It's not winning and losing, it's life lessons here. And I was just like, wow, you couldn't have said it better than that. And the way that, it's the night before the game, so he's tired and he's talking slow, and he's got this almost like preacher way of saying it. And it was perfect.
And the story itself, it's almost like Hollywood if you think about it. I mean, first of all, how many teams win Super Bowls? Right. Then, how many teams win 2 Super Bowls? Right. And then, isn't it ironic that the 2 Super Bowls they win, there were kids who grew up with Joey, and there were kids who grew up with Timmy on those 2 teams, and they didn't win any other in between. Right. It's like if you wrote it in a book, someone would say, "That's not, that's never going to happen." Mm-hmm. It's just the way it happened. I think if you step back and look at it that way, it's incredible. It really is amazing if you think about it.
Yeah.
And now you got a chance to be a part of it and put it on film. Yeah. For us to enjoy for a long time. And it is a real tribute to everybody involved. with the team and with the community and with the tragedies and feeling a part of that. So.
Yeah.
But you must have had, like you just talked about the Coach Perry thing that came in the middle of hours of watching film. I don't know how many hours of film you watched. If you watched 8 to 10 for the first one, you must have had a few more hours of film.
Yeah, there were a lot. Yeah.
Go through, and so you're there. And you're just like, that's it. You
Right.
find that diamond and then package it up for everybody.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the blessing and the curse of documentaries. Like you don't know what you're going to get until you get it. And then you hear that moment, you hear that quote, or you see that moment, and then you put that little nugget back there, and you're like, I'm going to need that later, and it's going to help weave this whole story together. And there were a lot of those, and it's kind of neat from a filmmaking standpoint to be on the field during such an emotive game. Or at least the beginning, because it was kind of a blowout.
Yeah.
Like kind of it was.
Right.
For us, it was so emotional.
Yeah.
But even the first quarter, right? It's emotional for everyone, and I'm thinking about the whole significance of the story from a film standpoint, and you can't help but think about, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what this story is going to be, and I'm there with my camera, and I'm thinking story, like, how is this going to turn out? Is this going to be they're not going to win it, or are they going to win it? And then I'm thinking, like, how to weave it together if they win it, and how to weave it together if they don't win it. Fortunately, they won it, and I think it made itself easier to tell that story, and became a much more powerful story. But it's kind of neat to be in that moment and not know.
Yeah, and a lot of positive reaction after raising 7, obviously, for you and from the community towards you. Is that what you're?
Yeah. It was really neat. We screened it for the first time at Gillette Stadium during the ring ceremony, and none of the coaches had seen it. No one had actually, no one in the football community had seen it. A couple of my filmmaking friends had seen it and kind of given me some feedback. But that was intense, because I knew that it was a heavy film, and it's a heavy story, and you have a room full of people that are so closely tied to the story, and you have coaches and players and families, and no one's seen it before, and everyone's watching it for the first time together in the same room. Everyone that's been through everything is about to see this thing, and the feedback afterwards was good. People were very, very receptive of it, and there's the coaches come up to you, and the parents come up to you, and the players come up to you, and they don't know what to say, but they just say thank you, and that's all you need to say.
Right.
So I think people liked it.
From a technical point of view, talk about raising 7 for a minute. 15 minutes. You have probably 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever it is, or maybe 8 or 9 hours for each one of these.
Yeah.
How do you go in saying this is going to be 15 minutes, or do you say I'm going to pick the 15 minutes? I mean, why wasn't it an hour or half an hour? Is it?
It could be an hour. It could be a feature-length documentary. But I don't know where the length came from. Sometimes I have an idea. I know the content, I know the story, and I have a sense of, okay, a story like this should be able to fit in this amount of time. And I think I set out to make something in the 10 to 15 minute range. And that's where I landed. And it could have been a lot longer. It could have been a lot shorter. But I feel like I feel like the story is told well in those 15 minutes.
Well, it certainly was.
Has Raising 7 gone beyond the Holliston community? Did you get any accolades for Raising 7 outside of Holliston?
There were a lot of people that I'd never met before that sent me some emails. I know Coach Kiley sent it out to a lot of his football buddies, and a few of them wrote to me just saying how they loved the film and they thought it was an incredible story, and people I'd never met before, and that's kind of cool when something you make.
You'll get a lot more after this show because of the number, the millions of people that we get each week, right?
Well, your mother's going to see it.
I know. Yeah.
But no, it's really something. I mean, and it's one of those things because it is so short. You can watch a over and over again, and every time you watch it, you see something different or something new. And of course, again, we're happy, but we have the advantage of knowing a lot of these people, and seeing them in this light is just even different, just different for us too.
You ever think about doing something about washed-up broadcasters, behind the scenes? Or?
You probably do now, don't you?
Here's a sitcom idea.
Yeah. It's Seinfeld, the show about nothing.
That's right. Well, thanks for being on the show, Max. I know you did come in from Japan just a few days ago and on some jet lag, and you on your way you stopped in Hawaii. You had a film that was shown there. Did that get received well?
It did. People loved it. So that's that film is doing well. It's about to be in the Santa Cruz Surf Film Festival in October, and we're still waiting to hear back from some other festivals. So that's
an Asian surfer in Boston.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got to tune in for it. But they can find you at Max Esposito or EspositoOriginals.com.
Yeah, either MaxEsposito.com or EspositoOriginals.com. We'll take you to the same place.
Got to check out all the films that Max has done. It's really quite a library of productions, and a lot of them with a Holliston connection.
Yeah, and of course, the town is very, very proud of you and what you did. We're pretty happy here in Holliston. We're pretty lucky. We get a lot of different people, a lot of different talent who come out and do things. And boy, oh boy, you are the Esposito original. So
thank you.
You did a great job. Thank you very much for spending some time with us today.
I appreciate it.
Okay, that's it for today. Unless you have anything else.
No.
Okay.
We'll see next
I want
time.
to thank Max again, Jess St. George on the camera over there, and the lovely Lisa and Don Cronin back there for helping us out today. And of course, once again, thanks, Max. You've really done a heck of a job here with that.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you later.
Good night, everybody.